Whoa, gravity, won't you come save me? Oh, gravity, you're my magic genie. Oh, you hold shit down to the ground, but you let smoke rise and bumblebees fly. Okay, look, I'm not a singer, and I'm just half of a comedian. But anywho, this is the Conspiracy Beerist coming at you with another video. And yes, we are going to tackle the ultimate god of the gaps of the heliocentric model known as gravity. If we don't know what it is, we insert gravity. We like to call it gravity because it just grabs things and pulls them down magically. But what is gravity, right? What is gravity? If you were to ask the most famous astrophysicist in the world, he seems to be a bit confused on the subject because he was asked what the definition of it was. What is gravity? And his first response was, next question. But then he goes on to say, if we were to think about it in an Einsteinium kind of way, it would be the bending of space and time. The bending of space and time. But how do we bend a concept, by the way? Because time is just a concept. This is like bending love, bending freedom. Like, how do you bend a concept? Okay? Don't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But then when Neil is going to demonstrate this on stage, he's got a mic in his hand and he drops it. And he says, "This is gravity." So in other words, he's showing us, he's demonstrating Newtonian gravity, which is the whole mass attracting mass kind of thing, right? But Mr. Neil, I got a lot of questions for you, because if that were true, if that's what gravity is, mass attracting mass, then what about helium? What about hydrogen? What about like a hot air balloon? What about smoke rising? What about bumblebees being able to fly, but yet ships are being held to the oceans, waters being held to a magic spinning ball? Yet we have things. So this is what they say gravity does. It literally answers everything. It's literally the god of the gaps. We have things out there orbiting, apparently, allegedly orbiting the earth, like satellites and meteors and stuff like that, and all kind of space junk is out there. It's orbiting, right? And planets are orbiting each other, moons are orbiting, but yet gravity also pulls things down to the ground here, right? So how does gravity do all this stuff? It's just magical. It's like a magic fairy. So there's a lot of questions there with gravity. But I always get this question, and flat earthers are made fun of for this. So you're going to deny the science of gravity. It's a law. You can't argue it. Au contraire, mon frère. You can definitely argue it. I just did. But we're going to get into what is the downward vector on a flat earth. How does this work on a flat earth? What causes things to go downward? Because it's a little bit more than density and buoyancy. A lot of flat earthers used to say this a lot, like the more an object weighs, like I have my keys right here, and I dropped them. Density caused that to fall because the keys are more dense than the air surrounding it, right? But, and I can do this with pretty much anything, but if I have a balloon in my hand and release it, it's going to go up. Gases go up, okay? Or they go out. Equilibrium, right? But there's a little bit more to it than that, because what is causing, why don't the keys go sideways if I were to let them go? Why don't, what's causing them to go up and down? So let's answer that question. And everything I'm getting ready to tell you here is scientifically proven. We can go out and we can measure these things. We can demonstrate these things. We can observe it. We can predict with it, right? This is all science, and I'm going to leave a link to a very awesome video under this video, and it was done by Good Times for All, Zachary's Ball, right? He did a really good job with this video, and the way he explains it is called incoherent electrostatic acceleration. Incoherent electrostatic acceleration. What does that actually mean? So think about it in terms of this, like everything is electrical here on the earth. I think most people with any sort of common sense would agree with that statement. Everything is electrical. We are electrical. We have electrostatic capabilities, right? Pretty much everything does. Iron does. Wood does. Styrofoam. I mean, you name it. Everything has got a state of electrostatic ability, okay, or electric ability. So think about the earth, the ground, being the ground of an electric system, right? And the air above is the positive. So you got the ground is the negative and the air above positive. And we can measure these things. We can measure that the ground has a negative charge, and we can measure that everything above in the air has a positive. And the further you go up, it becomes more and more positively charged, which is why we have pressure gradients, right? Makes sense? This is how we have pressure gradients. So think about the earth or the ground as like a flat water strainer, okay? And the air above is water slowly coming in a downward direction through the strainer, right? Kind of forcing things up to go down. It's the same thing as if I were to jump in the air, right? As I'm in the air, I become more positively charged because I have left the ground. But now, because I want to be attracted to the negative, I am forced back down to the ground. Okay? This is all electric. Everything's electrical. So even gases, if we were to apply an electrostatic force to gases, we can manipulate the gases. If you look at the periodic table of elements, you'll notice that everything in the periodic table of elements has what that element's electric ability is, like what its electric ability is. And the more dense that thing is, the more it's going to tend to go in the downward direction. I hope this is making sense, right? So, for instance, like hydrogen is less dense than helium. So, hydrogen is going to rise higher in the gradient than helium. But then something that's more dense, like us, or like a rock, when we drop it, is going to fall to the ground because it is more dense. Right? And guys, we can actually manipulate this kind of stuff, because in a scientific experiment, just like the one I'm going to show you underneath this video, if we were to reverse the polar shifts here, you can actually make, like, say for instance, if you change the higher ground to a negative and the lower to a positive, and just reverse it, because that's the reverse of how the earth is, we can actually force things to go up toward the negative. Okay, up toward the negative. We can do this with iron. We could do this with wood. We could do this with hair, right? Everything has an electrostatic ability, okay? This is how things go down, right? This is what causes things to go down. The ground is kind of like the cathode, and the sun could be considered the anode. And then you got the salt waters creating the currents, right? This is, everything in the world is electric. It's all electric. And even probably the most well-known or most popular scientist of all time, Mr. Nikola Tesla, said that if you want to know the world in which you live better, think in terms of electricity. Think in terms, and this is one of the most brilliant minds of all time. So For everybody that wants to know what causes things to go down on a flat earth, there's your answer. And what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to drop a video up underneath this video in the description of a video that's going to give you a better visual of this. And by the time you're done watching that, you'll never question this. You should never question this again. It should make perfect sense of how things go down. And we don't need the magical force of gravity to bring our flat earth model together. It's all electrical. It's simple once you see it. And what's wild is you've got all these famous astrophysicists and famous scientists who talk a good game. They're very charismatic, which is why they're all actors, by the way. Neil deGrasse Tyson's just another failed actor. He's not a real legit scientist. He doesn't perform any observations, right? So that's why he's confused. That's why he doesn't really know how to answer this question, because all he's doing is regurgitating some shit that he read in a book, or some shit that he's been told to say or scripted to say. None of these guys ever go off script, right? I would also encourage you to look into Ken Wheeler's work. Ken Wheeler is kind of like the god of magnetism today. Like his videos are incredible. And he's not a flat earther. At least he hasn't come out and admitted that he's a flat earther. He's probably hinted around to it, but he's never come out and said it. So who knows? So he's a very unbiased. So in other words, I'm telling you, this is an unbiased person that you can actually go to, and you can watch his videos online. They're incredible. You'll learn a lot by watching Ken Wheeler videos. So I'm going to cut it there. Gravity. There you have it. Don't want to hear that question anymore. I'm just going to send this video out to anybody that asks me the question. That way they can also go to the video underneath the description. With that, see you guys on the next video. This is the Conspiracy Beer signing out once again. See you on the next one. Peace.